While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.
Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I am Lawrence Presman. That man is Teddy Covers, and you're watching the best daily sports betting show on the planet. Yes, I haven't shaved. Yes, I'm in the same track pants. Yes, I had a winning day yesterday. Teddy, how are you, my friend? I'm excited for the show. Who's on today, and what are they going to be talking about?
We got Adam Trigger right at the top. He's going to talk a couple in college hoops for tonight. We're going to talk Tennessee, Alabama, and then Colgate versus Army. A little bit high profile, a little bit of lower profile in college hoops from Adam Trigger. Tony Finn's going to join us next. And, of course, we ask all of our guests to give us 2 plays to discuss. Tony gave us 4. So we'll see how many of them we get through. He's going to talk Knicks, Hawks in the NBA, Richmond and LaSalle in college hoops. He's going to give us a future in the World Baseball Classic. And let's not forget the XFL that kicks off on Saturday. He's going to talk about the Arlington Renegades this weekend. Rob Veno to close out the show. Rob's going to talk Chicago and Indiana, little Bulls Pacers in the NBA action. And he's going to talk Indiana in college hoops as well during a revenge matchup at Northwestern. So college hoops, NBA, XFL, World Baseball Classic. Yeah, football season's gone. We still got plenty to talk about right here on Wager Talk Today.
I'm wearing my shirt today, Teddy. Wager Talk. Great name, man. Really, really great name for our business, but we're not going to go there. Guys, listen, so every day, every few days, people ask really good questions in the chat room, and we do want to address them the best we can. So, Teddy, we're going to tackle a tough one right now. Lawrence Brown writes, can anyone explain why you do high volume betting? I'm not picking on Gianni, but the guy had 88 units at risk on Saturday, nearly his entire bankroll with juice. Now, before we get into this, I want to say there are very few bettors on this planet better than Gianni. Every year, Gianni is at the top in profit made. He is an unbelievable bettor. We are ecstatic to have him part of our family. He's not your typical handicapper because he's playing market moves, etc. But I mean, there is no way either of us can fault Gianni. The guy is unbelievable in betting. But Teddy, so let's take a look at the question about high volume betting. You go first, my friend.
Yeah, no one's ripping Gianni. The question is, he's got 80% of his bankroll in action. Is this okay? Is this normal? For bettors who focus on a singular sport at one time, or bettors who all they're doing is betting, and Gianni does that. Gianni is a legit professional bettor with contacts second to none when it comes to where the money's going to move. Johnny's in action all over the place, and he's putting out one positive expectation wager after the next. Now, it's not always easy to get down to the same numbers that he's getting. He's putting stuff out before the market moves. If you want to play Gianni or any of the high volume guys, you want a subscription. You want to get those plays right when they are released. You can get the numbers that they're looking at. But when it comes to singular focus, when it comes to best of the number, when it comes to a higher volume approach, when a guy's been doing it for a long time, I trust him to keep doing it. And the best bettors, they grind out profits using a high volume approach. I've thought about doing it. I thought about doing it for NBA. I thought about doing it for college football. Two sports you can get a fair bit of volume down. And I've made the conscious decision not to do it that way. But there are bets I make that I can't give to my clients because I don't get them up in time. Johnny doesn't do that. The high volume guys get them up in time first and then come back and worry about getting their bets down. And that, to me, is the biggest piece of the equation there. So it's absolutely doable. Look, many pro bettors that I know here in Las Vegas were 100% of their bankroll in play by kickoff last Sunday. Literally, like every dollar they had to bet, they bet one side or another, one prop or another. Now, it wasn't all opinion plays. Lots of chances to hit middles. Not unusual to see professional bettors get most or all of their bankroll in play on a single event, even in something as big as a Super Bowl. Lawrence?
Yeah, and Teddy, well said. And I want to speak, firstly, I'm a low volume bettor in every sport but the NFL. What I want to speak about is from the WagerTalk perspective, the corporate perspective. We sell picks to clients. That's what we do. And there are many clients, mostly over the age of 40, who want low volume. There are many clients, mostly under the age of 30, who want high volume. Our job as a company is to find the best low volume bettors we can find, period, end of story, and the best high volume bettors we can find, period, end of story. We have to provide all those products because, Teddy, I have been in a situation where a person will pay, $25 for my bet, and it's one bet. And they email customer service, one bet for $25? I need 6 more. Okay. If you need 6 more, we have a handicapper that is perfect for your style of betting. I am not going to say which style is better. Everyone must do their thing. The numbers speak for themselves. There's very few people on the planet better than Gianni, if any, at high volume. We're lucky to have him. And there's very few people, better than Dave Koken, who is an extremely low volume bettor. So we do offer the whole gamut. There's no right or wrong. Everybody has their style, and everybody needs to cater to that. Sorry, Teddy, go ahead.
But the key is that a high volume approach, your swings are going to be bigger. Okay. You're going to have the swings that are very real. But a high volume approach is not in itself a negative.
Right.
Guys that do it and do it well are more than capable of peppering the board with wagers. And at the end of it, having a bunch of positive expectation bets. And at the end of it, showing some profit for what they've done. And that's our goal for everybody.
Teddy, let's do what did we learn between guests. I'd like to get Adam Trigger's opinion on this. Adam, you're a low volume bettor. Do you have anything to add to this discussion? Because I think it is a good discussion.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would add, and listen, first of all, just because someone's high volume, like I would say, just using Johnny as an example, if you're like a handicapper and you're handicapping your own stuff, like you might want that because basically he's going to give you a ton of plays, and then you're going to be able to go back and look and say, hey, like this is, what I was already looking at. Right. When he played it, maybe that's, you don't have to play every single play. My theory and why I've always been lower volume is pretty simple, Prez. Every time I make a bet, I've got to give the book minus 110 against me, right? Like that's like in theory, every time I bet, the house gets minus 110 against me. Right? So they get plus 110 against me is what I'm trying to say. So if I can do that fewer times in my lifetime, it's less times I'm giving the book the edge. So for me to make a play, the edge has got to be big enough where I'm willing to give the house plus 110. And for that reason, I tend to be lower volume because I just keep my threshold for what is actually a play higher because I know I'm going to get eaten up by juice if I don't.
Eddie,
if you go 0-3 on a given day, your clients won't like it, but they're not broke. When you go 0-9, your clients don't like it, and now there are issues. So that's one of the biggest concerns that I've always had And a lesson that I learned early, I remember having a terrible college football Saturday that I was in action on all these games and every opinion that I had. And this is early on in my career. I remember having a terrible day. And at the time, one of the guys I worked with was like, look, clients are real happy with a 5-0. The difference between a 5-0 and a 9-0 for them is minimal. The difference between an 0-4, 0-5, and an 0-9, the difference between them being in action and them not being in action. Remember that. And that's something that I always remember.
Yeah, and the other thing, guys, well,
Go
Prez,
ahead,
and
Al.
you probably would agree with this. I think you guys would agree with this. I don't really I don't have like a limit, right? Like if there's if on one day there's 5 plays, like
Yeah.
I'm going to play all 5 of them.
Of course.
It's just, I'm not going to leave one. I don't cap it. It's just more often than not, it ends up being 2-3 plays that actually make it. And that's just, I'll kind of keep doing that because it's worked.
Yep. Well said, Ad. I do want to address the juice conversation, Adam, because it's important, and it makes sense. You don't want to play so many plays when you're paying 10 cents to play every single play, and I understand that. However, if you are seeing it right, and if you find an edge, the minus 110, if you're going to put out 30 plays, yes, you're paying a whole lot of juice, but you're still ahead of the game because you're still seeing it correctly. You're still winning more bets than you're losing. So, from Gianni's perspective or Tony Mia or any of these high volume guys, they put trust in their ability to find the right numbers and to beat the books. And you know what? Gianni has done it every single freaking year. Great question, Lawrence. I hope we addressed it to the best of our ability. You asked it at the beginning of the show, so we did not have any time to prepare. But we do want to discuss these things. We do want to discuss betting theory, etc., etc. So appreciate the question. Adam, Tennessee against Alabama, number 1 against number 11. There's money coming in on Tennessee. They've gone from -3 to -3.5. The total has been bet up to 147.5. How you betting this game, my friend?
Yeah, so I felt like I got in a fraction late with Tennessee -3. I gave out Tennessee -3 to my clients this morning, 4% play. I know there was some -2.5 overnight and very early this morning, but it looks like 3 might not be the worst number now, with this starting to move toward 3.5. Listen, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, guys, to realize that the spot favors Tennessee, right? Like, it's obvious that the spot is pro Tennessee based on the fact that you have the number 1 team on the road catching 3 points. Part of the reason, though, I mean, in addition to it, what I think is a decent spot for Tennessee, I think this is an exceptional matchup for Tennessee because I think a lot of the things that Alabama does not do well, or what I would point to being their deficiencies, Tennessee is going to have the ability to expose. One thing, Alabama, number 1, they have so many athletes, so much talent on that roster, but there's still some things that this team does not do particularly well. The first thing is take care of the basketball. Outside of the top 300 nationally in turnovers, when they're under pressure, they will turn it over. And Tennessee is the type of team that's going to pressure the ball. They're a great defensive team, and they should create the turnovers that Auburn couldn't really create down the stretch, which is really the only reason that Alabama was able to come back and win that game over the weekend. Alabama trailed for a good portion of that game against Auburn, but once they sort of got in rhythm, Auburn couldn't really turn them over, and then Auburn went ice cold for the final 5-6 minutes of the game to allow Alabama to win that game. Tennessee, in my opinion, it's a perfect play on spot for them because they're also going to limit transition here, guys, but Tennessee finally shot the ball against Missouri. Even though they lost that game, they finally shot it well after 3 games where they couldn't buy a jumper. And it reminds me of when I actually went to the Missouri game earlier this year against Arkansas. Missouri was in a huge shooting slump, kind of got hot in that game against Arkansas. And if you looked at like their next 4 games, they shot the ball extremely well. I feel like Tennessee's kind of coming in off of a similar, like, horrific 3-game shooting slump. They shot it well against Missouri, took a really bad beat on a buzzer beater from half court, but they're shooting it well. And if they shoot it well tonight, guys, I don't think they're going to have any problem here. This is just a tough matchup and a tough spot for Alabama. who continues to sort of, I don't want to say overachieve because I really do think they're a good team, but this is the SEC. These are tough teams. I really like the Vols. Love the matchup. I'm laying the 4% play.
So Tennessee's been a pretty dramatically overvalued commodity here in February. They played 4 games since this month started. They're 0-4 against the spread, 1-3 straight up. 3 of the 4 losses against the spread came by double-digit margins. Did this team just overachieve early? And now, is this a team? Because one of the things that I like to look for, and I didn't last night, and it cost me, is I want to lay points with teams in good rhythm. And Tennessee's not in good rhythm right now. And they're playing a pretty elite foe. What do we do?
So, Teddy, I'll answer the first question first. Do I think they overachieved? No. Tennessee was one of the 4 teams I bet to win the national championship ahead of the season. Tennessee, Baylor, Houston, and Texas were my 4 teams coming into the year that I was extremely high on. So to me, they didn't overachieve. Right now, though, like, I think you got to look for the buy sign, Teddy, right? Like, you're not going to have an opportunity to, like, once Tennessee starts playing good again, forget like finding a good spot to bet on them because they're a top 10 team. So here, like, in my opinion, the fact that they shot the ball well against Missouri is the sign, right? Like, that to me is the sign to jump in with them because they shot it so poorly, and that's ultimately what caused that run of non-covers. So I'm just gonna, if I can get a good offensive performance from Tennessee here, there's no question in my mind they cover this game because I know how good their defense is, and their ability to turn Alabama over, I think will really give that's going to be the tough part for Alabama on the road, a team that can get back in transition. Alabama's not going to have the easy points, in transition. And if they're turning it over, I find it hard to believe they leave Knoxville with a win.
Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com, exclusive handicapper to our group. Guys, we're going to talk Colgate and Army. I just want to make mention. Essie in our chat room writes, Prez, I want a segment on Wager Talk. Okay, brother, but that's not a sales pitch. Like, let it. Challenge accepted, Essie. What do you want to talk about? What's your segment going to be? You want to come on every day, once a week, one time only? Come on, sell yourself. Ad. Army, Colgate, plus 12.5. Total hasn't moved. 145.5. No follow-up from Teddy here. When Tony Finn is on, we got to keep the follow-ups to a bare minimum. Plus, okay. You, my friend, you make loquacious seem longer than it is. How do you like this game?
Yeah, so real quick, that Tennessee play is a 4% play. I do have a 5% play tonight that's up at Wager Talk. This is one that's on sort of my, my still potential list, if you will. I haven't given this out officially to clients. I haven't bet this yet because I think it could move up. But the way I'm looking, guys, is Army plus the points. Colgate's right in my backyard here in Central New York, so I follow this team pretty closely. I get over to Colgate games every once in a while. Not going tonight, but I want to point out they have nothing to. It's not that they don't have anything to play for the rest of the year, but they don't really have anything to play for the rest of the year from a move the needle standpoint. They're already going to be the 1 seed in the Patriot League. They could lose their last 4 games. They have the tiebreaker with Lehigh. It's not going to matter. Second, the Patriot League this year isn't as good as it's been in years past. So there's really no one pushing Colgate in this league this year. And I think this is something that you can take and apply to Colgate games the rest of the way, where they may be a little bit complacent. You might see them rotate a few more guys in because they know that even if they run the table the rest of the way, it's not really going to change their standing. They're going to have to win the Patriot League tournament to get in. So I think these numbers, these big numbers with Colgate are starting to get pretty inflated. You go back to the first time these two teams played this year down in West Point, Colgate needed a buzzer beater to win that game. And they were they were a 7-point favorite. They trailed most of the second half. They needed a buzzer beater to win. And now all of a sudden they're 12.5-point favorites in a game that's, maybe essentially meaningless. Army is one of the teams in this league that actually is capable. Jalen Rucker's as good of a player as you're going to find in the Patriot League. He had 22 in that first meeting. And for Army and everyone else in this conference, every seed matters, right? Because the Patriot League, guys, is one of only a couple of conferences that still play their conference tournament at campus venues. So getting the 4 as opposed to the 3 as opposed to the 5 is huge in the Patriot League, because it's the difference between playing on at home or playing on the road in your conference tournament. So Army still has everything to play for. Colgate, they can walk to the one. They're already the 1 seed. They've already won the Patriot League. They can take their foot off the gas a little. And I go back to the first meeting and how competitive it was. And this feels like too many points. So I like Army plus the points here. The first meeting, they should have won, guys. They really should have won. They led down the stretch in that game. I think they can be good enough to stay within the number in Hamilton, New York tonight.
Teddy?
Adam Trigger likes Army plus the points against Colgate in Patriot League action. A down year for the Patriot League. Adam, what do you have to promote? You talked about having a 5% big ticket. I know your college hoops has been rolling of late. Tell folks what you got.
Yeah, college hoops has been awesome. Last month, I think the only one ahead of me right now, profit-wise, the last month is Gianni. We talked about him at the top of the show, or last 30 days. It's up on the website. But yeah, I've got a 5% play in college hoop, goes tonight. I also have a 4%er, which I gave you with Tennessee -3. I'll be on the college basketball show at 2 p.m. I may have others, so tune in, check that out, and I'll be on the Hustle tonight at 6 p.m. So potentially giving out some more free client plays, but that 5%er goes tonight, and I love it. So check that out on my.
Wonderful stuff. Adam Trigger, everyone. There's not a word in the English language Adam Trigger doesn't like. Anyway. So, Teddy, I did puck time earlier today. Jared Dulaba wrote, I can't decide who I'd rather have dinner with less, Joe Biden or the Prez. Now he comes into the chat room and he writes he's made his decision. He would rather have dinner with Biden. Jared, I assure you, you will be having dinner with neither of those people. Teddy, what did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
So last night, Valentine's Day, and out and about, I'm like, there really is 3 different type of bettors on Valentine's Day, and it kind of cracked me up. So you got 3 type of bettors on Valentine's. First, you have the single guys. And they're not worried about pleasing anybody else. It's a normal night. They're just making bets and watching games. I was out on the strip last night with Kara, and that's who is in the sports book. Prez probably falls into this category too, because he doesn't believe or he doesn't do Hallmark holidays. So we'll call him a single guy for this one. They don't count on Valentine's Day. Then they're the married/dating guys whose wives and girlfriends get it. My wife's in that category. So I'm allowed to check scores during dinner. I'm allowed to stop by the book before or after. And then there's the guys whose wives and girlfriends don't know/aren't into it. And those are the guys that are going nuts on Valentine's Day, surreptitiously checking the scores when she goes to the bathroom, trying to run to the book, making bets, on and on. If you're really into betting on sports, I encourage you, and again, it's easier said than done. But if you're into this, find a significant other that likes it and can deal with it. There's a reason that Kelly in Vegas and Ariel Epstein and Megan Payton get marriage proposals from random strangers all the time. Find someone that can deal with it. Otherwise, many times it's going to be one or the other. Valentine's Day can be like that. So I was lucky to find one. Prez, you're lucky to be able to ignore this stuff. But for most of our audience, it helps when you find someone who shares your sports betting hobby, at least in some way. Lawrence?
Teddy, Vivian is a hardcore sports gambler. Vivian puts more money down than I do. She makes more bets than I do. I mean, it's amazing. The two of us sit on the couch and watch sports all night and screaming like crazy lunatics. And she does her own handicapping. So well freaking said, dude. And Jared, I know you're kidding. Teddy, I got a 5% play in the NHL tonight. I'm on a 7-0 run in the NHL. I won again last night, dude. I'm 18-5 in betting in my last 3 days. Guys, make sure to take advantage of my 5% play in NHL tonight. We won it last week. We're going to win it again this week. Tony Finn joining us. T. Finn. Just to let everybody know, we ask all our guests to send in 2 plays to talk about. Tony decided to send in 4. That's because his information is twice as good as anybody else's, I guess. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And I put a little notation there that I didn't want to create a conniption by putting 4 plays up there. So to know that the first 2 I listed, I'm ready to talk about. It looks like that's what we're going to talk about. Thanks for inviting me.
We're talking all 4, Tony. You throw up 4.
All right.
We're talking 4. No follow-ups. We're getting right into it. The first game you got up is in the NBA. It is the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. How are we betting this one?
We're going to play over the total in this game. I think if you're going to be in this war room, you're going to be over the total, or you're going to not be near it at all. Atlanta very inconsistent, but if there's one thing that's been constant for them, especially this year compared to last year, postseason and otherwise, is that their defense has been inept. I think it's not only a fair word, but I think it's mild and compared to some of the people who might have called them something else, Prez, while they were playing the under. That said, or playing the Hawks, period. The Knicks, since Mitchell Robinson went down, their metrics are defensively are 10 points. They've lost 10 points. When Mitchell Robinson's off the floor, and now with a couple pedestrian backups in the post there that don't defend the rim, anything close to what Robinson did, the totals have been going north. Even last game when they played Brooklyn, New York-Brooklyn matchup there, everything I read, everybody I talked to loved the under in this game because of the way the Brooklyn now is set up and their DNA and their first 5 and their second rotation are set to be more defensive under Jacques Vaughn. The game went over. And I think the same thing happens tonight with the Knicks and the Hawks.
So you like the over in the Knicks and the Hawks, or the under in the Knicks and the Hawks?
I like the over. The over. I'm going to be until something changes. When Coach Tom T made that lineup change, the first 5 change, when he put in Grimes, the starting lineup, this was back I think in mid-November, early December. This team has been less than defensively, Teddy, and much more offensive. Yep. And when Robinson went down, we're talking about a minus 10 defensive net compared to who they were with Robinson.
Let's talk some mediocrity personified in college basketball tonight. In the Atlantic 10 Conference, we got 2 middling teams, St. Bonaventure and Fordham. Sorry, not St. Bonaventure and Fordham. We have LaSalle and Richmond, which is right next to St. Bonaventure and Fordham on the WagerTalk Live on screen. Nonetheless, LaSalle sitting at 6-6 in conference play, 12-13 overall. Richmond sitting at 6-7 in conference play, 13-13 overall. The game's priced near pick'em. What do we do with the Spiders and the Explorers?
Well, I'm going to stick with LaSalle. I've made a little money on LaSalle last couple of months, been selective with them, should I say, and I do follow Atlantic 10. I'm not a guy who claims to follow 363 Division I teams, Teddy. I don't. I try to. Most of my clients, present and past, have been like the fact that I will release Power 6 conference games because they're still old school, I guess. They still think that those are the games that are going to be televised. When, let me just alert everybody, it's breaking news. You can pretty much get any game you want on television now if you're in the right spot and you have the right network and you have the right service, should I say, or provider. LaSalle is really, there's a lot of reasons why LaSalle, if you look at this game surface-wise, statistically, metrically, the Spiders may look like the team to play here. And I'd argue that, although I would understand why somebody would want to argue that. And this is in Tom Goal Arena. This is a LaSalle team is playing really well. I played them the last time we scored on LaSalle was a couple games back, but and they were -4.5 favorites. Tonight you get a pick 'em. Richmond 148th, Teddy, in the nation, and they're 140th ranked, which is 7th really in the A10. And you're right; these are 2 pedestrian schools. Richmond plays slow, which puts them on the slower end of the teams, but they have a miserable road number record, and only winning once in 9 tries, 2-7 against this number in away games. LaSalle is not necessarily better team.
Did we lose Tony there?
Sounds like it. Either he froze or we lost him.
Well.
So LaSalle's not necessarily the better team, but it sounds like he likes LaSalle to knock off Richmond in college basketball action tonight. Prez, should we take a little break
Teddy,
and go to my big game breakdown, or should we wait for Tony Finn?
We'll give him a second. Rara and a bunch of the guys want to know where the Wager Talk hoodie's coming. So, Chris Allen, James Bunton, if you're listening to the show, are we going to have Wager Talk hoodies? I would love to do that. Sounds great to me. We are looking into it. I know that I was told there will likely be some coming. Anyway, Teddy, you know what we're going to do? Tony was going to talk WBC, and he really liked Cuba at plus 1,400 to win. So Tony is actually back now. Rob kicked him out.
Bummer.
Tony, we're going to talk about Cuba plus 1,400 to win, but in 3 words, what is your bet on the Richmond-LaSalle game? 3 words. 3.
LaSalle in a pick. That's 4.
Okay, LaSalle in a pick. Tony, Cuba plus 1,400 to win the WBC. Why do you like that bet?
The first off, the the World Basketball Classic set up like a lot of classics or world or international sports events, tournaments. Let's say they're in the A pool, and the A pool, if you look at every team, every pool has 5 teams. We've expanded to 20 games. Cuba at plus 1,400 is the top team to come out of that A pool. That's the best odds of at least the futures of any team to win it. And first off, as you guys both know, the path to winning championships, be it Mad March, be it WBC, a lot of why a team wins or doesn't win is their path. It's a really good path for staff. They're a little old in the hitting department, but I'll tell you this much right now: you're only going to play it. You play a few games, then you go into single elimination. And I want Diaz on my roster. Cuba at plus 1,400. Prez, a very good price on a team that has a very good chance to surprise.
Awesome.
Cuba live in the World Baseball Classic. One last play from Tony Finn before all is said and done. And that is in the XFL. Yes, the NFL is over. Yes, college football is over. But XFL Week 1 starts this weekend. They're all TV games. Let's talk about Vegas and Arlington. The Renegades taking a little bit of money. They're 2.5 is the side and 37 as the total. What do we do with Vegas and Arlington?
Well, I think right now, first off, this is a game Arlington's going to win. I'll tell you this. This is a little conspiratorial. You guys will like it, but Arlington's the base of this league now. Arlington playing the opener and on Saturday, and this is the team that's going to win. I think they're the better team. I think they're a well-coached team. I think not only are they well-coached, I think the supporting cast in this coaching staff is really, really good. Bob Stoops will be the head coach again, bringing that back. You're going to have a passing offense. They are well groomed for this offense. The current personnel, they're deep at quarterback and at receiver, and that's what you need to win in this league. I like Arlington, and you see all the lines, guys. They're all 3 or less, so it's still a feeling process also for the bookmakers. Although don't be fooled. Don't let someone tell you that we know as much about this league as they do, because we don't.
Tony Finn. Tony, real quick, bro, what do you got to promote? And I mean real quick.
NBA package tonight, 2 plays. My college yet to go up, but I do have one. I'm waiting on some information. So tonight you can get basketball. A future on that WBC. And if you'd like, I'll be covering the XFL all season. I'll have a play up later on, not only one play, but I'll give you some previews for the other games.
Thank you, Tony Finn, everyone. Guys, we will run the show late. We did not intend to have that question at the beginning of the show from Lawrence, and I wanted to answer it, so be it. Barrett Barrett, no politics in the chat room. It's a safe zone here, but you did write, I am all for capitalism and people selling merchandise, but I personally will never, ever purchase branded clothing. I am not a pro bono spokesperson. So you don't have the Nike swoosh on your shoes, right? The Levi, you pull the Levi off the jeans you buy, right? When you wear Adidas, you take the 3 lines off of them, right? I don't think you know what you're talking about, Barrett. Teddy, big game breakdown time, my brother.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk a little NBA for Wednesday night. Miami travels to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Looking at the WagerTalk Live odds screen, I'm seeing Brooklyn -1. Let's call the total 211.5 as we speak. And let me start with this. I like the Heat in these pick'em type games. Miami finds a way to win tight contests. I believe they lead the NBA 20 victories this year by 5 points or less. They're not good chalk. You don't want to be laying points with Miami. But in this pick'em range, I'm interested. And when you watch their end game, you understand why. I saw them do it against the Rockets last week. I saw them they come back from the dead against Orlando. I watched them almost come back against Denver last time out. I think they would have won that game if Jimmy Butler's tip-in wasn't waved off as being a goaltend and time ran out. Game tied, 2 minutes left. I want Miami as much as any team in the league. They have a tough defense, the ability to execute in the half court. Now, I know they're a little bit shorthanded. I don't care. They're coming off a loss. Miami off a loss and on the road. They've won 7 out of 12, and they're 9-3 against the spread. Brooklyn, they're 6-11 in 17 games in the last 17 since Durant first got hurt. They're 1-4 straight up their last 5 without Kyrie. 3 of those losses have come at home. And when they play a good defense, again, this is a Nets roster that has no continuity whatsoever. Completely remade roster again. First time head coach. That wasn't the coach at the start of the season. When they face a good defense, they're going to have problems. We saw it against the Knicks when the Knicks turned up the defense intensity the other night. They scored 26 points over the last 14 minutes, only 45 points after halftime. The Nets are playing hard. There's tons of talent on that team. You love Michael Bridges, Dinwiddie, and Cam Johnson, and Dorian Finney-Smith. These are all quality contributors and additions for Brooklyn. But I do not trust a team and a coach that just came together to execute down the stretch against an elite defensive team with a core that's been together for years. They won a title together. Miami +1. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Ninth Wonder writes, the Prez and Teddy are complete class acts. Kudos, guys. Ninth, I don't agree, but thank you for the kind words. Rob Veno joining us. Robert! Brother, thanks for coming on, man. Late notice. We really appreciate it. You are as good as it gets and really rocking and rolling right now all around, bro. Tell us about that.
College basketball, Prez, is really where it's been fantastic so far this season. 42-20 after last night, up over 60 units of profit. A little more selective this year than years past as we head into what's probably the critical part of February in most conferences. And then before you know it, conference tournament time. So glad to be on the roll that I'm on and look to continue it here today. Even have a college basketball play that we're going to talk about a little bit here.
Yeah, guys, we will have a presidential address today. I know yesterday's was cut off. The beautiful part about it was it cut off the loser. So anyone who listened to it went 2-0 yesterday on the presidential address. Make sure we get our 100 likes, please. Robert, let's get straight into it, man. NBA, Chicago at Indiana. You've got a first quarter bet for us. What is it?
This is simply mechanical, Prez. I mean, we have the best first quarter spread team in the NBA playing the worst first quarter spread team in the NBA tonight. Chicago, the best. Indiana, the worst. The Bulls, 34-21 with a couple of pushes against the spread in the first quarter. Especially good on the road where they are tonight, 19-9-1 against the spread on the road first quarter this season. Hot lately, 7-2-1 first quarter, last 10 games. Pacers, on the other hand, horrendous, no matter who's in the lineup. You could try and single out the games where Tyrese Halliburton didn't play. They didn't play good in the first quarter then, but they're 17-41 overall in the first quarter. Slow starts, something that Rick Carlisle has moaned and groaned about all season long, hasn't seemed to get any better. They're the second worst first quarter team at home, 9-19, and they lose games, average margin of 4.54 points per game. So losing by about 4.5 per game. Here we got the Bulls plus a half. They've played twice this year, guys. In the first quarter of both of those games, Chicago won them both, 33-21, 38-27, 11 and 12-point first quarter victories for the Bulls. Bulls Road, I talked about them being really good overall. They're extremely hot as of late. 7-1 last 8 games in the first quarter. Average winning margin, 5 points per. Average points scored for those who might look to first quarter point total over. The Bulls are scoring 28.3 per game in those last 8. DeMar DeRozan not going tonight. So you got to look up how the Bulls have done without DeMar DeRozan in the lineup. First quarter results in the 4 games that he has not played. They're 2-2. They beat Washington 29-25 on the road. They beat Golden State by 15 at home without DeRozan. Lose by 2 to OKC. Lose big to Memphis by 12 in Memphis. I think the situation sets up really good here once again for the Bulls. Remember, they have they're one of the only teams that will play back-to-backs here heading into the All-Star break. They have Milwaukee tomorrow, so I would consider this the winnable game of the two. I think they'll come out quick, DeRozan or no DeRozan. And like I say, it's really purely mechanical, guys. Let's take the best first quarter team over the worst first quarter team, Bulls plus a half a point.
So you talked about the 4 games without DeRozan and Chicago going 2-2 in those games in the first quarter. They've lost 4 straight. They're not playing good basketball. They're probably at or near at the top of my list of teams I'm looking to fade right now. Will be the Chicago Bulls. Don't like the quotes, don't like the chemistry, don't like the fact that DeRozan's hurt. There's a lot of issues in Chicago. So they struggle with DeRozan out. They're not playing good ball. They're just 2-2 in the first quarter. Their last 4, riding this 4-game losing streak. What makes you think that tonight, even with the full season numbers showing that the circumstances dictate that Chicago is worthy of a first quarter?
Yeah, I think everything you just said, Teddy, Indiana's worse. I mean, they're just flat out worse in every single thing you just said. And it's, like I say, it's somewhat mechanical. But the Bulls have been, over the last 10, hot. They've been good on the road. The Indiana side has not been good. And they do, you know what? It's funny when you go through these game logs, they win first quarters and lose full games. So perhaps guys who are doing a lot of in-game betting here, Bulls get off to a hot start in this contest. You just come back the other way with the Pacers, who seem to play much better in the second half. It's really a weird phenomena between these two teams this year, and especially currently the way they go about playing their game. So I'm going to stick with the underdog here to just win this first quarter by 1 point. Figure Zach LaVine probably takes over the offense in the first quarter. It's he and DeRozan that kind of don't mesh in the locker room, and we wait for Zach LaVine to be traded, but it just doesn't happen. So we'll try the Bulls plus a half point first quarter.
Robert Veno, everyone. Rob, let's get straight into your next game, my brother. Indiana at Northwestern. You like the total here? No follow-ups. Get to it.
Going to try the under, Prez, 134.5. I'll say this. I talked earlier about this being mid-February, and at this point of the season in conference play is generally where things tighten up. Defense takes over, especially in a conference like the Big Ten. Indiana, a little bit of injury news real quick. Potentially get Race Thompson back tonight. Maybe Xavier Johnson. He's missed 14 games in a row. If they do play, I'd wonder about continuity with those guys back in. But regardless, let's assume they're not going to play again. Indiana's defense and low possession games have happened in 8 of their last 9. They've allowed 44% or less from the field in 8 of their last 9, 62 to 67 possessions, 8 of their last 9. And they force teams to take 18.3 seconds off the clock every single possession. That's the 39th longest time of possession for opponents in the country. So again, when I say use the word grinder, that's exactly what that's describing where Indiana's concerned. They're going to play good defense. They're going to force you to use long possessions. And it really describes Northwestern to a T this year. Chris Collins has said it over and over again. We're a flawed team, but we really play defense. I think it's indicated in the numbers, 26th in adjusted defensive efficiency, 273 in tempo. You got two teams, guys, that are playing really good defense. Both coaches have praised their defenses as of late. And two teams that take a long time to get the ball up in the air. So Northwestern, thoroughly reliant on the guard tandem of Bowie and Audige. We'll see if Indiana can do something about that. The first time around, this game was abnormally high scoring. Happened way back in the first week of January, but it was a high scoring affair. Figure that adjustments will be made here. And again, this game is for second place in the Big Ten, a conference where there's 8 teams jammed up between 1.5 games. So they're all important. I think it comes down to a low possession game. Give me something in like the 128 range. Indiana, by the way, their last 3 road games totaled 123, 121, and 118. See something like that here tonight. Give me under 134.5.
Look for the
Awesome,
Hoosiers
Rob.
and the Wildcats to stay under the total. Rob Veno, what do you have to promote? I know you're rolling right now in college hoops. Tell us what's going on right now over at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, I'm going to promote that, Teddy, because the play that's up and available for today was the first play I saw that I liked, and it happened to be in college basketball here this evening. So you can go ahead and purchase that at WagerTalk.com. NBA will come later in the day. That's usually my ritual to go a little later with the NBA as we sift through injury reports. But college top play up and available right now, WagerTalk.com.
Awesome stuff, Robert Veno, everyone. Shout out to some of you guys who've already been purchasing the Prez's 5% NHL play. Jessica, Zach, John, Alexander, Michael, Jeffrey, Troy, on and on and on. Lots of love, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Teddy, we did get 100 likes. We are going straight to the daily presidential address. All right, it's time for the daily presidential address. I got 3 NHL bets for you guys. Before we get into that, I got to remind everyone, I have one of my rare 5% plays up tonight in hockey. We won it last week in our 5%er, and I've also won my last 7 NHL plays in a row. I also have 2 college basketball plays. You can get the whole lot over at WagerTalk.com. Do not miss my 5% play. Okay, yesterday in the presidential address, we kind of went 2-0. I did give out a third play, but it was cut off and it lost. It was on the Colorado Avalanche. Here we go. 3 plays for tonight. My favorite play that is not my 5% is Colorado and Minnesota under the total of 6. Colorado is a stone cold under team. One of the biggest under teams in the year. I think they're 18-30 to the under. Minnesota have gone under 7 of their last 9 games. 3 of their last 4 games, they've only put up 1 goal. I am shocked this line is 6. Bet under the total of 6 in this game. Detroit and Edmonton take over the total. Edmonton, one of the biggest over teams in the league, and we know they're going to let goals in. It's 6.5. I like over the total, and I also like over the total in the Buffalo-Anaheim game as well. What an outstanding show. Douglas Baines just grabbed the 5% play. Mwah. Love you, man. Teddy, take us home.
Sure, that's going to wrap it for the Wednesday edition of Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast. Noon for you back east. Between now and then, you guys know what to do. Enjoy the games. And best of luck with all your wagers.
While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier